cutting edge labels. I believe there's 253 items, which is a new brand for us that we launched this year. Everything from 500-gram cakes all the way down to safe and sane fountains, artillery shells. It's down the bottom left there, Mick, where PowerPoint is. Straight down. Right, nope, to the right, right there. Cutting edge there. That's the logo for Cutting Edge. It looks a little bit like wreaking havoc there. But again, 253 items. These items are only available through our container program, or what we call our ExOrder program. They're not available out of the warehouse. So that's another way to differentiate. If you become a container customer or currently a container customer, you can order Cutting Edge, and then it's not available through our warehouses. So you would be, if you're ordering containers in and you mix and match some Cutting Edge in, and other people or your competitors are buying or carrying a world-class brand, but they're not importing the container, then you would be the only one that would have access to the Cutting Edge. It's only, like I said, it's only available to people that go with our container or ExOrder program. I think we went. The other thing I wanted to talk about on the private labels is we have a staff and team in China. We have graphic design, artists, computer folks. You have an idea or a concept for a logo or a label or a name. We don't charge for those services. We work back and forth with them through internet, email, Skype, whatever technology we need to do to share that image, to share that information. And I can give you an example. This year we had some folks that were interested in a private label. Within a matter of about 36 hours, we had 12 different labels for them to choose from. Names, artwork, warning label, color, all of that was done, and all the customer really had to do is say yes, no, 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 yes, yes, yes. And in fact, the customer made absolutely no changes to the labels, took the names as they were, maybe changed the font on them, or the writing or the color, etc. Now, it's not always going to be that easy or that fast, but with our team in China and our graphics and the way we print, we can move fairly quickly to get you a customized, at least 4 or 5 choices for a particular item in a short amount of time, so you could say yes or no. And we would take your logo or your name or however you wanted your company represented on that label or that item, and integrate it in with the right color schemes, the trademarking, all of those things. That falls on you, whether your name's trademarked or the name of the item is trademarked. But it's a fairly simple, streamlined process. I don't want to oversell it and under-deliver, but the more time that we have to work on it, we turned down container orders from people this year in February, March timeframe because we just didn't feel like we could fulfill their order and get them exactly what they wanted. And we'd rather say no at that point than to take something that we couldn't deliver on. So just a couple of things to keep in mind. Any other questions on this program, Brad?
Hey, Mike, with all the tens of thousands of names that are out there, is there a way to find out what name is registered, what name's not? Is it trouble with someone's title?
Brad's asking a question, with all the names that are already out there, is there a set list, database, or a place that you can go and check and look to see if that name is already taken? And yeah, you can check with the trademark. I'm drawing a blank on the name. It's the U.S. trademark. I can get you that link, but there is a place that you can go and check and see if that name has been used or utilized or available.
So if it is available, or if someone hasn't registered it, somebody else has it already,
yeah. Most of the time, there's a lot of things that are very similar in name or even the same name or certain images. A lot of times you would just be asked to stop selling it. There's I don't want to say there's no risk, but there's little to no risk of that unless you're sitting right across the street from the person, renamed it, and put your label right on their private. Yeah, that might be a problem. We'd encourage you to go do that, Brad. I tell you, we don't have any locations in Colorado, so no. But obviously names and things like that are trademarked and various things. And I don't know the specific location. I'll do a little research for you, but sure there's a website where you can go and search for all of those names that are already trademarked.
One thing too about trademarks is if your name is somewhere in the
other losses. You know, if you sued for something on a trademark name, say you have red willow, somebody has willow trademark. They can come in and try and put a conjunction on selling that item. The only nice thing is most people in the fireworks industry are willing to work with you, like Mike said. They'll call you and say, hey, you've got something similar to my name. So, then, like let's say, let's use an example you have. I have a name prior to you using it, and you come out and do something similar or even the same name. If you trademark that name, I can still declare first use of it and still use that name. So it actually comes down to who used the name first. So if you put it in the comments first, I guess it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yes, sir?
Does that work the same way for like character likenesses on the graphic art as well?
The question is the character likeness or the graphic art. And again, it's kind of back to what Mick's saying is sort of the first one that introduced it into commerce, the first one that sold it, marketed, etc. Even though if it's not trademarked, generally would win in that situation. If that image and thing is trademarked, like logo, for example, I will promise you, you know, with the yellow background and world class, there's probably another company that has a yellow background with an animal on it that probably didn't like our choice of the round yellow circle with our name in it because that logo is so well known and protected as well. But just kind of depending, color scheme can trip you up in this, name can trip you up in this, image can trip you up in this. Lots of different things can, but by and large, for the most part, if it's something that you've always had and handled, and you, to Mick's point, you were the first one that was distributing it, most of the time you're going to prevail in that. If you come in and you're the second or third line down the road, there can be legal action, but most of the time you're just going to ask you to stop selling it, not make it, distribute it, etc.
One thing too, it depends on the likeness. So if you have, using Brad's example, if you have a handmade shell, 24 shot with a similar name and a similar artwork, that can also be considered distributed. So they take into account different steps and the different likeness. So it's not sometimes even just one thing. Take ExOrder, for instance, if you have a gold sword, and then you've got a similar name and a similar product. They take into account all of the different pieces of it. Trademarking that is very complicated, but it'll all basically be analyzed individually, and then they make a decision. So it's not real cut and dry in some ways.
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about the minimum orders and container.
Minimum orders, minimum case orders. Yeah, generally, not being, this is going to be very general, but minimum order for us, depending on the items, about 10 to 15 cases. Private label minimum orders probably around 100 cases, depending on the item.
10 to 15 cases
Of each item.
and then an overall container.
Overall containers can be anywhere from 600, 700 cases, 800 cases, depending on the weight. It's limited by the weight. In dollars, depending on what it is again, but in general terms, it's around $30,000 to $40,000 of product on a container. Can be as low, depending if it's just a container full of bottle rockets versus a mixed container, 200 grams, artillery, all those things. Of course, all the American-made artillery, or artillery Excalibur, Goliath, Merlin, Trilogy, United We Stand, with our HDPE tubes, those are all made they're all assembled here, final assembly point here, so those don't factor in on the container program because those are all produced at the warehouse that ships you. So the American U.S.-made artillery, the black box, 515s, all those would be part of the container order, but the other shells that I described would not be part of that because they're shipped from U.S. locations. I don't know.
One thing too, when you're trying to decipher how many cases to a container, the easiest way too, you are price list, and on the